International Media TV. Television that listens to you.
Hi, I'm Johnnie Burrell. Welcome to the program.
Hi everybody. Hey Reverend Brown. Thank you guys for coming, guys and gals. My name is London Breed. I am the supervisor for District 5, and this is, I guess, the third meeting that we've had to talk about what should happen with, I'm going to call it YOSHI'S. I don't know what to call it other than YOSHI'S. It's been YOSHI'S from the beginning. So what should happen with YOSHI'S? What should happen with the Fillmore Corridor? And this meeting is to discuss that. So I want to start by saying that there have been a lot of questions, and we have done our very best to try and answer those questions. In the past, oftentimes, a process like this would not necessarily take place with the community. I think the reason why there's so much uncertainty and there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of unanswered questions is because I have worked hard to make sure that this process is done in concert with the community. And whenever there's something that comes out from either the state or the feds or anything that you as a community need to know, my goal is to make sure that we're bringing all the facts, all of that information out so that we can figure out exactly how we are going to revitalize the Fillmore Corridor, how we are going to bring this establishment back. There's nothing more important to me. And if I had the opportunity somehow to open this place up tomorrow, I would. But unfortunately, there are a lot of things that have crippled our ability to not only open this place for the interim, but more importantly, move this process forward in order to hopefully select somehow an operator that can bring this location back to what it should be for this community, and that is a thriving arts entertainment destination. We've heard you loud and clear, not only the folks who have attended these meetings, who have expressed an interest in seeing something great related to the arts and entertainment happen at this venue, but more importantly, you have given us emails and given us your feedback, and what we have been trying to do is put together a request for proposal that would incorporate many of the things that folks in this community say that they want to happen at this space. So today what we wanted to do is not only talk to you about where we are in the process and keeping you posted on the process, but also we wanted to talk to you about potentially members of the community signing up to participate in the selection process, because as I said in the beginning, our goal is to include the community in every step of the way. So members of this community, we want to be a part of a selection committee in order to make sure that whatever we decide to do with this space, someone who is chosen in some way has some sort of connection to this great community. So with that, I wanted to introduce Joaquin from the Mayor's Office of Economic and Workforce Development. He's going to talk a little bit about what's happened throughout the course of the community process, what's been incorporated into a potential RFP, and where do we go from here. And we, of course, will open it up to you all just to get feedback. So with that, Joaquin Torres. Thank you.
Thank you, President Breed, and thank you for your leadership in keeping us engaged in this way, and thanks to all of you for coming out tonight, and for those of you who continue to come back and be engaged in this dialogue that we're having about the artist formerly known as YOSHI'S, right? The supervisor was very succinct in terms of what our opportunity is tonight, and that's basically to make sure that the conversations that we've been having with you to date, you can see that we are incorporating in terms of whatever the next steps will be that lead to the ultimate activation of the YOSHI'S site. We know it's important to the community. We know it's important to people individually. We know it's important to the economic vitality of the corridor, and that's why it's of utmost importance to us to get this process right. So really, as the supervisor had mentioned, we wanted to check in with you about where we are right now, how this has been a very deliberate process. Again, reiterate back to you what you've said you want the uses for this site to be. What you've also said, what benefits you want to see included in terms of what makes this site successful for this neighborhood and the community. So far, just as you noticed, to reiterate, the Office of Community Infrastructure and Investment had a memo that was produced back in July. On July 13th, we had our first community meeting here, followed up by another one on the 27th. We've been in contact with all of you, and please, if you haven't already signed in, or if you've been having trouble receiving any information from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, please do see either Ashley Cheng, who's in the back, or Derek Brown, our Chief Deputy Director at Mons, to make sure that you or others can always be in the loop about what our next steps are going to be. And that's how we're getting all the frequently asked questions that we've been hearing at these meetings back out to all of you. And that's when we sent those back out back in August earlier this year. Okay, so again, what we've heard, we thought it was very important just to reflect back to you, like I said, exactly what we've been hearing from all of you. Because we want to make sure whatever the process is, whatever the criteria are that determine who gets access to this site, knows that they are taking into consideration what we've been hearing from all of you to date. And what we've been hearing very generally at the highest level and strongly are that it has to contribute to the vibrancy of this Fillmore corridor, that the business, it's important for it to be financially viable, financially successful, that people do want to see, as the supervisor mentioned, an entertainment use maintained. And again, that this building is extraordinarily important to the vibrancy and the heritage of not only the Fillmore community, but the African American community as well. And that there needs to be some kind of connection to the history and culture of this neighborhood. And then also this desire for community benefits that invest either in the building and or the community itself. Now, what are those benefits? Well, you've told us what you want them to be. You said you want to maintain community uses. You want to make sure the gallery and screening room, that there are opportunities for community use and activation there. You want to make sure that there's access that's still maintained to this building on behalf of the community. You want to make sure there's neighborhood events and opportunities that can still be accessed, and that the site and its operators will be helpful to community organizations and members in maintaining that level of access and activation. Discounted entertainment or dining events, to make sure that, once again, it's an accessible venue for folks. And then also in terms of opportunities around workforce development, to make sure that people can be trained, that there's internships available, and that there are opportunities for local neighborhood residents to be hired at whatever the new site ends up being. And that there are additional opportunities that are always kept in mind in terms of any proceeds generated from the site and how those are invested back into the site itself and the community at large, and potentially other sites or programs that are of interest or priority to this neighborhood and this community. So in terms of what the process is going to look like and how soon we can introduce that, we're still in conversations right now. The office, OCII, I think we all know who they are still in conversation with the state of California about the exact parameters of what this process can look like. We did not want to wait for that. That's why we wanted to come back out again tonight and say exactly what the parameters were going to be of a process, make sure that was okay with you, so that once we got clarity from the state, we could get moving. Again, as the supervisor mentioned, all of us, you have told us, both in person here at these meetings and also over the phone and via email, we want to see this activated as quickly as possible for the benefit of the community, as strongly as possible, and that's really our intention, to make sure that we're ready to go the moment we get that clearance. Again, around business viability, we wanted to make sure that people are qualified to take on this site so that it can be active and vibrant for the benefit of this neighborhood and community. And that again, all of the uses, desired benefits are incorporated as parameters in the decision-making process once people do receive proposals about how to activate this site. Again, I've already mentioned how to confirm the financial viability of those who make proposals, and then also that the goals for this site are in alignment with what all of you have told us repeatedly. I know I'm saying the same things again and again, but I wanted to make sure that you understood that we were hearing quite clearly how simple your desired use for this space is. You want to see it benefit the neighborhood, you want to see it accessible, and you want to see it to continue to be vibrant for the years to come so we aren't here again. And that people are happy about how it's being used for the community. Pretty simply, that's where we're headed. But we want to make sure that the community is directly involved in whatever recommendations are made to the Board of Supervisors about what happens in this space. And the best way to ensure that the community uses and desires are respected and reflected is to have the community members part of that process. So 9 members on a selection committee is what we're proposing. The majority of them is what we heard, both from the community and from the supervisor, needed to come from the community itself. And then there needs to be some kind of long-standing community involvement, whether you've been a resident, whether you understand the history of the community, whether you are financially invested in the corridor as a merchant, or you've been involved historically in some process that has benefited this neighborhood. Those are some of the high-level parameters in terms of how individuals will be selected to serve on this review panel. They will be in partnership with members of the city family, from OCI, from the Mayor's Office of Housing, from the Department of Real Estate and the Controller's Office is what we're proposing right now, and that the conversation review process would be one facilitated by our office to make sure, again, that those of us who've been in these meetings with you are making sure that those priorities and desires are being heard in that process, and that there's room for concerns and comments to be made when those reviews are underway. Again, the committee will be looking at those proposals that have gone through the RFQ process to make sure that we're spending our time wisely and getting to an activation of this site that can be the most successful. And again, those committee members will be responsible for scoring and ranking all of those proposals for final recommendation to the board. The timeline that we're looking at right now, and we're hoping that we can expedite this even faster, and that's what we're striving to do, is to have a release happen sometime in November, at the latest in December. That we're going to be asking for responses to have a pretty quick turnaround, again in January, at the latest February. That we want to pre-screen and have a selection process that occurs during February and March. And then award and negotiate the agreement in the months of April and May, before final approvals come to us in June of next year. Again, this has been a very deliberate process. None of us, I think, are happy about the timeline. All of us, I think, have been frustrated by it. We share in that frustration, but this is a process, this is the timeline that we're dealing with, and we just want to make sure that we're being very transparent about that. Again, it is our priority to move through this as quickly as possible. If you would like more information, please do visit the website. Please do reach out to us. We're here to have those conversations. If you know of people that are interested, we want to make sure that we're aware of them. And again, just one thing with regards to the selection committee. If you are or have a desire to be on that selection panel, please know that you will not also be allowed to make a proposal yourself or be a proposal partner. There needs to be that separation between those who will be reviewing from the community and those who will be proposing what activation they want to see at that site. So again, you can visit us at investsf.org. Derek Brown at the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services is available via both email and his direct line. And then finally, Valley Brown from Supervisor London Breen's office is available as well. And so please do reach out to us. I know it's a minimal amount of information, but we wanted to be sure we were coming back out to all of you to let you know where we were in the process and how determined we are to keep on moving this forward. And that we will be providing more information in the days and the weeks to come via the email list. So please do make sure that you are on that. Is everyone here pretty much on that list? as a pastor told me, sounds like somebody ought to be up in here with me. Is everyone here on the list and receiving emails? Okay. So can you sign up at the front? Okay, great.
They were late in comment.
Yes, please.
They were late in comment.
They were late in
comment, yeah.
Okay.
We didn't improve on that.
Okay. So if we have any comments or questions that we can help answer, both our office, the supervisor, OCII, and the Mayor's Office of Housing are all here to take any questions, but that's pretty much the update that we have at this point. If you are interested or know of those who are interested in being considered to be on the selection panel, we have those documents. Are they up at the front or are they up here with us? Okay, then they're up at the front, so please do take those out and fill them out. You can either bring them into our office directly or you can fill them out here so we can begin that process, and we'll be in contact with you.
Thank you, Joaquin, and thank you so very much for all of you for coming out this evening. As Joaquin indicated and the supervisor indicated in their remarks, we are in discussions with the State Department of Finance. As you know, redevelopment was dissolved by Governor Brown, and there are a new set of rules and regulations which frankly change all the time, and we get literally new instruction from them and new interpretations almost on a daily basis. New litigation is filed, they file clarifications. So the process moving forward with the property in terms of its disposition and sale, I think we've talked about it for 2 years, it's on our website, but we don't yet have all the answers. And rather than waiting until we get potential answers from the state, we're laying out a process for RFP-Q that lays out the intent and what the community goals and objectives are. We take that back, convey that, and to the last 2 gentlemen who spoke, this is what's important, here's the history, how can we incorporate it and fit it into the box of state dissolution law that is not necessarily knowledgeable. There are 400 former redevelopment agencies across the state, and they have to be able to apply the rule. So our job is to articulate what your objectives, your goals and objectives are, so we can fulfill that through whatever state process is ultimately approved.
Can you also clarify that the city doesn't directly own the property?
Certainly, and the city and county of San Francisco actually does not own the property. The current owner of the property, the legal owner, is the successor agency to the redevelopment agency of the city and county of San Francisco. The artist formerly known as redevelopment. It's actually a separate state authorized entity, as redevelopment always was for 60 years. We're certainly part of the city family, but legally, the city and county of San Francisco doesn't own it. What's important, as you saw, and even Mr. Washington's comments, the $18 million of previous public investment, and a lot of that public investment actually came from the city and county of San Francisco through the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, through a federal HUD loan that was meant to be a temporary construction loan. The total outstanding debt, and the city really is, like in a bankruptcy, is a first mortgagee. They are the master tenant. So the city is the master tenant to the redevelopment agency, former redevelopment agency, and it is the city, that's why we're going through this process where the city, because the city has a vested interest, we collectively have a vested interest in making sure as the property moves forward, it meets the community's goals and objectives.
We are trying to make strong considerations for how we can get the site active while this process is going on, and what makes the most sense in terms of management and operations and the needs of the space as it exists, so that we can make sure it can be ready and available for those purposes. So that's something that we're working on right now.
Did you speak to what he asked about interim use though?
That's what we're working on right now, to find out what is actually viable in that space.
Let me just, Ace, can I run my meeting, please? So one of the challenges, and I just want to be really clear, there are some issues with the space, including it's not considered accessible because the elevator permit expired. There's a lot of work and money that would have to be invested in the current space in order to allow it to be operational and open to the public. And I just want to be clear, I want that space to be open. I want that space to be open right away. But what I am not going to do is support spending any more money that could effectively pay off our HUD loan. I mean, we have affordable housing money because of this project that's supposed to be used on affordable housing in the city that's actually going to pay HUD instead of going to pay for affordable housing because this project has failed and the money that was supposed to be generated from this project was supposed to pay that loan back. It's like over 10 years later and we're still waiting. And that's where, sadly, the issue is. There's a lot of things that are tied up because of this particular project. But as far as I'm concerned, yes, I want to see something happen there. Yes, I want to do everything I can to open that space and to get someone to help support investing in what's necessary in order to open that space, but not at the expense of spending additional affordable housing revenue to do it. That's kind of where we're running into a bit of a challenge right now, because I'm yelling at Ben here because of the freaking elevator. I mean, I'm so livid about the fact that, you know, and this is, and let me just be clear, I did not create this problem. I am trying to fix a problem created by a lot of folks who came into this community and raped this community and destroyed this community, and now I'm trying to fix it. I'm a part of this community too, born and raised right down the street. My family hasn't benefited financially from what's going on in this community, but I'm working every single day to try to fix it. And I understand that you all have great ideas, and I want to figure out a way to make those ideas work. That's why we're here. As I said in my opening remarks, instead of waiting until after the process is done, sadly, which the city has done in the past, I'm bringing this and working this process out with you. No one's hiding anything. I'm trying to have this conversation so we can figure out what to do and how to do it right. And I'm just as upset and frustrated as you all, and that's why we're having this conversation. But I just want to make sure that whatever it is that I know, that you all know. Whatever it is I know we can do, that you know we can do it, and we want to continue to work in that direction to get it done. It's not going to be easy. It's not a quick fix. I wish it were. I wish we could let not just the Super Bowl, because they come and go, but any member of this community should have access to use the space. But the truth of the matter is that didn't even happen when YOSHI'S was open. Let's be real. You know, folks couldn't have access to that space. The drinks were $15, $16. People from this community couldn't go to shows hardly. I had to ask for free tickets on a regular basis, which we were granted, but community benefits, that didn't exist. All the promises that were made as a result of the space, that didn't exist. So my job as supervisor, as a member of this community, is to make sure we do it right. No, it's not a perfect solution. Yes, we got to continue to work towards that direction, but I'm right here working it out with you, and I'm hoping that we can figure out a way to make this thing work right. And I really appreciate the comments from everybody, because this is really helpful feedback, because we have to figure out a way to make sure that this place, not just this place, but this community is thriving.
We're still working out conversations with the state about what we're going to be able to do moving forward, and we're hoping that we'll be able to take that next step as early as next month, meaning next week is the beginning of next month, at the latest in December. So we're going through that process right now. Have you signed up for the newsletter?
The one that's going around?
Yeah.
Yes, I just signed up.
Okay, great. So that will be in terms of what our next steps are going to be, we'll be in contact with you that way, or you can reach out to us next week, and we can let you know if there's any new information that way as well.
Okay.
Everything that people have said at these meetings in terms of what values they want on the table when people are considering proposals for the best activation of the site, of the building. We're going to be asking everyone again, here is what the community said at these meetings about what the values are they want driving this process. And how are you, as committee members of the community, going to be weighing all of these pieces out when you're making your determination? Absolutely 100%.
And that's the word that's killing me, is the word community. What do you consider community? The now gentrified people? The people who claim 6 years and have privilege here now?
I'm glad you're asking. People who have lived here for a long time, people who have been involved in the community for, I think we all know what exactly that means. People who have a rich history, personally, through their investments, through their time, through their families, in terms of understanding what this community has meant to people in time. And I think that is going to be the process and the high-level considerations we're making about who defines community. Absolutely, that people who have lived here for a long time are going to be considered to sit on this review panel.
And my final question,
Yes, ma'am.
who's going to choose the committee?
So the city partners are going to be in conversation with the supervisor's office in terms of selecting the panel and making sure that it's going to be an acceptable group to best represent the diverse interests of the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Of course.